This episode is sponsored by The Break Room, downtown's best spot for a hot lunch every business day.
On this episode, City Engineer Stan Meyers, G.R. Laughlin from Community Resources Council, Amy Kralicek from American Cancer Society, actress and director Karen Hastings,
your weekend fun forecast,
and U.S. Senate candidate Greg Orman.
Well, folks, welcome to Talk About Topeka's studio, and I'd like to also welcome Stan Meyers, City Engineer with the City of Topeka. How you doing, Stan?
Oh, great. Doing very well, thank you. Great to be here, thank you.
Those of us downtown know you very well because you've been getting around to all of our stores and telling us about what's happening.
Yes.
You're working with this big project on Kansas Avenue. I've been told that something's happening out there.
Yeah, you may have noticed a little bit of noise, a little bit of activity, out in front of your doorstep here. Obviously this summer it's been kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Here over the last few weeks, I hope people have noticed there's been a little bit of progress on the surface.
Yes, that's been the very exciting part because there are a lot of people asking questions. What's this going to be like? And it's really hard to just tell them,
Sure.
Now you're seeing it.
Yeah.
The crosswalks are kind of coming in here. They starting down at 10th that kind of explain this process as we continue. What are we going to be seeing over the next
So you might
weeks?
remember that we started at 10th Street so many months ago, back at the start of the summer, and the crews have been working extremely hard, but it's all been underground. We've been putting the water main in and storm sewers and gas mains and all that, exciting utility work. And, we're pretty much in all the way up to about 7th Street now with all that work. So, there's obviously a lot of work going on yet, and of course, anyone who's tried to drive the 800 block has noticed that we've got kind of dueling contractors there with the gas company working on the west side and everything else going on the east. But if you take a look at the 900 block, here very recently we got the new concrete sidewalk finished, and we've got curb and gutter and concrete parking surface. I mean, these are things that would not normally get me so excited, but I tell you what, after the summer and all that work,
we had some really exciting stuff happening.
Yes, we've had a few unexpected fountain displays, I believe.
Yeah, we had a river walk for a day.
We had a river walk for a day, and so I think folks are extremely happy to see that we finally have what's going to be the final product, at least a taste of it here with the 900 block. We've got those what I think are beautiful colored stamped concrete crosswalks.
Yes.
Even at the mid block, and of course we've got 3 legs done there at 9th and Kansas. So it's really kind of all coming together now, and it's been a great effort.
Yep, you guys are doing a great job. Keep it up. Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
And please come back. Keep us updated.
Absolutely.
All right, that's Stan Meyers, City of Topeka Engineer. We're here with G.R. Laughlin. He's the Executive Director of the Community Resources Council. How are we doing, G.R.?
Doing great. How are you guys?
Excellent. Thanks for joining us.
Before we go any further, you're going to have to tell us what GR stands for. Because it really just makes us nervous, okay?
You don't
it
like
makes Jamie nervous.
Yeah, because I'm not going to go by J Slack.
Yo.
So you have to tell us. Yo. He goes, yo. So what is, you don't have to.
It's Grafton Richard Laughlin Jr. It's a family name.
Oh, why don't you go by that? That's a beautiful name.
It's a long one.
It's a wonderful name.
Try to spell that on your...
I know.
A lot of letters.
No kidding. Okay. Well, tell us a little bit about Community Resources Council. I always thought it was Community Resource Council, but you just checked me today.
That's right.
So tell us a little bit about it.
Community Resources Council next year will be 90 years young. So it's been in the county and in the community since 1925. It's started out as Community Chest, like the Monopoly board, and later changed to Community Resources Council down the line. But it basically offers collaboration, advocacy, research, and education for the community. It's I would liken it to the nonprofit of Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, okay. So you're helping people, maybe start up their own businesses and be able to have the resources they need to get some things going, to get some money back into their community.
Yes, actually, we have a couple organizations that are under us currently under our 501c3, and we help them develop a new business, or we just help getting resources to those organizations so that they can provide for the community as well.
I'll say this here, that these guys have helped us with Talk About Topeka to keep Talk About Topeka going and making sure that everything stays free to the small business owners, the organizations that are coming here, and we're actually partnering with CRC, and we're very excited, and we thank you for doing that. We really do appreciate it.
And that's what we're here for.
Absolutely, and helping us get to the next level, and thank you. That's really all we can say.
You're also at the Avondale East Center, too. That's where you're located.
That's correct. We call it the Avondale East Net Center, and the NET stands for Neighborhood Empowerment and Transformation.
Because there's a lot of different groups that are there.
There's a lot of organizations within the one community that we have there at the building, yes.
So the beautiful mural out front as you drive by. That's
I
really
helped out
great.
with it, too. I helped paint it. They painted over the part where I was painting, but then they made it look nice.
I thought you were the ones with outside the lines.
I totally was outside the lines.
She was the one vandalizing it, right? That's what she does, right?
Well,
It's a beautiful mural, yes, and we have a little library out front, and new marquee, and kind of a refreshing of the whole building inside and out.
Yeah.
Well, cool deal.
You guys always have something going on. I've been over for a few meetings for different organizations and such, and it's like Grand Central Station over there.
It
People
is.
coming and going, and lots of activity. And you all know that activity, when you see it, it's all people working to better their community, and it's really a great feeling to see. And we're really glad that you decided to join us on the show today.
And thanks for inviting us. We're glad to talk about Community Resources Council.
That's right.
GR, you are the very best. Thank you so much for joining us.
We're with Amy Kralicek. She's the Community Events Specialist with the American Cancer Society. Welcome aboard, Amy.
Thank you.
We're so glad to have you here. An event popping up. We want to jump right into this because it's really a spectacular event for the community. Making Strides Against Breast Cancer is coming up here on Sunday, October 19th. Tell us a little bit about it.
Sure. This will be our 5th year for Making Strides Against Breast Cancer. As you said, it's Sunday, October 19th. This year we're going to be down at Lake Shawnee at Shelter House number 1, which is on the west side, right across from the girls' softball complex. And Making Strides Against Breast Cancer raises money for the American Cancer Society's fight against breast cancer. Some of that money will go to breast cancer research. That's what we're doing this for. We really want to find a cure for breast cancer. We don't want any woman to ever hear those words, you have breast cancer.
Yeah.
But we also have a lot of patient programs and services that are available for those that are currently fighting breast cancer.
I love how you tell us exactly where you're going to be at Lake Shawnee, because I have a feeling everyone will be able to see you.
I hope so.
You're all going to be in your bright pink, and everybody gets all dressed up. It's ready to go. You see everyone who is participating. In
Oh,
Making
yes,
Strides.
you do. Yeah, there is. It's a sea of pink. There's pink everywhere, which is a lot of fun. We're really happy that the community comes out and supports us. Last year we had about 2,500 walkers, and we hope to at least match that. We would love to top it this year.
And you have men and women.
We do.
That are doing this.
We do. It's wonderful. Of course, women are very passionate about breast cancer because it's very personal to them. But men can get breast cancer too, and we see a lot of male caregivers out there supporting the ladies that they love so much. But yeah, you will see everything. Last year we had a guy in pink from head to toe. It's amazing
You're
what
like,
you see.
rocket! That is so awesome.
It's
That's what makes
amazing.
it fun.
It is.
Yes.
It is.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Amy, for joining us. And of course, it's the Race Against Breast Cancer, October 19th. That's a Sunday. The registration starts at noon, and the race and the walk begins at 1. We have the legendary Miss Karen Hastings here with us. Oh, stop acting like you're surprised.
A legend in my own mind.
Well, you're quite amazing because
thank you.
you're acting all over the place, and you're also directing different things, and you're writing different things all over the place. You're quite amazing, and we're so excited to have you here today.
That's so kind of you to say. Thank you. I'll
Yes,
stay.
I know. Yes, you should stay.
I'll stay right here.
Well, I think it's so incredible that you've been able to help actors and actresses in the area, be able to create and be able to have a space to do this. This is pretty cool.
Thank you
This is
so
a great
much.
thing.
Well, the break room has been great for us.
The break room, I've
Because-
never heard of it.
Oh, shush it up, Amy. You've been spectacular for the break room. We really
Thank
love
you.
working with
Well,
you.
that's very
and
kind.
all of
Thank
the
you.
folks that come to the table for the productions. It's really a treat to get to know all the people that we've gotten to know. In the
There
course of
are
doing
a
this.
lot of them, and each one of them is incredibly special. They are just...
In their own very unique way. You can't lump these guys into a category.
No, you
They're
can't.
all different.
No, they're all different, and they're all differently motivated, and
And the cool dynamic about a show is they come together, and it doesn't matter that they're all different.
They all
part of that
pull
team.
for each other.
Yeah.
They really do. And that's part of what I always look for, is I love to work ensemble. And if they don't have an ensemble attitude, it kind of throws a monkey wrench into things. Nobody's a star. Nobody gets to be a star. If I can't be,
nobody else gets to be. I think that's the greatest lesson I've learned today. That's amazing. It's the Hound of the Baskervilles. Ooh, I just want to make sure I'm holding it up right. The Hound of the Baskervilles, that's going on October the 10th through the 31st, but those are in some sporadic days in there.
Right.
So you can find out more information at breakroomdowntown.com and get tickets there as well.
okay.
I know, I'm hungry. I hate talking about food.
I do too. I do too.
I know, it's so rude because it sounds so delicious. And of course, it's so amazing over there. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
of course,
you so
I can't
much,
wait to
Jamie.
see it.
And
The
thank
lovely
you, Chris.
Karen Hastings, we
Thank
certainly
you.
love having you here, talking
Thank
about all the
you.
great things that you do.
Oh, that's so kind.
It's the truth, is what it is.
Thank you.
It is. Well, keep up the great work with
Thank you.
ArtSync. Well, here on Talk About Topeka, we're here with Greg Orman, candidate for U.S. Senate. How you doing, Greg?
I'm terrific, Chris.
Is it all right if I
to
call
have
you
here.
Greg?
Absolutely.
All right. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you for joining us. I really do appreciate that. First and foremost, who is Greg Orman, and how did you come to this point where you're running for U.S. Senate?
Well, you know, I'm a businessman from Olathe, Kansas, and I've spent my whole life basically building and growing businesses, creating jobs and opportunities for people. And as I looked at what was going on in Washington today, it just became clear that Washington wasn't working for Americans and it wasn't working for Kansans anymore. It seemed like Washington was focused on fighting, focused on extremism, and ultimately they weren't solving problems, but rather they were appealing to the worst sides of both of their parties. And so I just decided it was time to get involved and time to do something so that we could bring problem solving back to Washington.
Excellent. I know, when people see commercials, they see candidates, it's hard for them to identify, so I'm going to hit you with a few little quick personality questions
Sure.
here. What was the last movie you've ever seen?
You know, the last movie I saw was called The Good Lie, which was about the lost boys of the Sudan and actually coming and resettling in Kansas City with the help of a number of the faith communities in Kansas City. They were able to build a new life here, and it was a very compelling and interesting story.
I have to check that one out. What extracurricular activities did you do in high school?
Well, you know, I did a lot of things. Obviously, I studied a lot, but from an extracurricular standpoint, I played sports, I played tennis, I played basketball for a little bit. I also was involved in a handful of government affairs programs. So I did, Model United Nations and youth in government, and then generally speaking, I actually worked a lot. So
Yeah. It's a good thing. If you had a day off, what would you typically be doing?
Well, right now, whatever my wife tells me to do. But
Smart man.
if I got to choose how I spend a day off, I generally would probably play golf and then go to the dog park with my wife and our 2 dogs.
All right. So we got some of the questions here. Facebook's a huge thing, and so I threw out there if you were going to be able to sit down with all of the candidates for U.S. Senate, what respectable question would you ask
Sure.
all of them the same question? And a lot of the responses, I have to say, seemed that people were upset with government. We'll just put it that way. But there were a few really good questions in there that I had. They popped up, and that was a good one. So we'll get started with a few of those. These questions came from friends. I wanted people to just have the opportunity to ask some questions. So let's see here. If you're elected, what are the top 3 most important issues that we'd find on your agenda to address in Washington on behalf of the people of Kansas?
Well, and Chris, I think your respondents on your Facebook page sort of pointed out the first one, which is Washington's not working.
Mm-hmm.
It's very dysfunctional. We're sending the worst of both parties there. Bitter partisans who seem to care more about pleasing extremists and winning primaries than they do actually solving problems. And so I would say the first issue that we need to do is we need to get Washington back in the business of solving problems, whether that's related to healthcare affordability or higher education affordability. There are a whole range of issues that Congress is frankly just abdicating their responsibility to solve. And the Kansans that I talk to feel that. They feel that Washington isn't working for them.
a lot of the voters feel confused and they feel upset with the current state of politics in our country. It kind of plays a little bit more onto what you were just saying, but what's your opinion of politics today? And if you're elected, how would you work to ease the confusion and anger toward the system at this time?
Well, as I said, I think we do have the worst of both parties in Washington. There are good Democrats, there are good Republicans. We just don't seem to be sending them to Washington. We seem to be sending people there who want to fight, who want to draw childish lines in the sand, who refuse to cooperate, and ultimately inaction replaces leadership in solving our most pressing issues. And so, from my standpoint, going to Washington, the first thing we need to do is send a message to Washington that that's no longer acceptable. And that's one of the big, I think, selling points of our campaign, is electing an independent from the state of Kansas sends a real strong message to Washington that the status quo isn't acceptable. And that if you're not willing to go there and do your job, we're willing to find people who will.
Business is a big thing for you, obviously. Small business and entrepreneurs are crucial. It's the foundation that the country was built on. And many people feel that the challenges that are facing small business entrepreneurs has just been increasingly growing. And it's more difficult, it seems, in this climate for people to take that chance to be able to get out there. And as a U.S. Senator for mom and pop businesses with, say, less than 20 employees, how would you give them more of a fighting chance to realize their dreams?
Well, it's a timely question, because we're in the process of putting together my small business bill, which is basically our plan for what we need to do to help small businesses thrive in this country. My father has owned a small business in Stanley, Kansas since 1971. It's a furniture store, and first and foremost, he refers to what he calls the beehive of regulation. Any one regulatory issue is sort of like a sting. It's a pinprick, but what we have today is such an overreaching amount of regulations that it feels like you're falling into a beehive. So I think the first thing we need to do for small businesses is streamline that regulatory approach so that they don't get and don't have to face those sorts of issues. Second thing I think we need to do is we need to look at some of the legislation that was passed recently, Dodd-Frank in particular, where it imposed real obligations on community banks and made it harder for them to lend money to small businesses. And I understand the concerns about having another financial crisis, but it wasn't the small banks, it wasn't the community banks in America that caused that problem. And so to impose those restrictions on them, I think only hurts small mom and pop businesses, and we need to relax those. And then the other thing that I've talked a lot about is we need to make the tax code far less complex. Most small business owners shouldn't have to hire a third party to prepare their taxes for them. And yet today we've got such a complex tax code where we try to pick winners and losers. And the result of that is small businesses have to pay what I call a compliance tax as it relates to just paying their taxes.
How would you seek constituent input for the decisions you'll make on their behalf, and what quality measures might you have in place so that they can verify the progress?
Sure, yeah, great question. One of the things that I've always tried to do whenever I've made a decision is get the pulse and take the pulse of the people who are affected by that decision. So as an example, in Veterans Affairs, we've put together a group that we're going to announce soon of veterans from the various service branches who are able to come and help me understand the implications of what we're proposing to do on people's everyday lives. And we would do that as well. My wife is a high school teacher. And so before we started thinking about education policy, I went and I talked to a bunch of teachers. Because they're in a position, they're in the trenches, they see day in, day out what's happening. And I would try to do that. My wife also, people ask me the question, how much time are you going to spend in Kansas? How are you really going to get that input? And I've said, all you really need to know is my wife's mother lives in Kansas. So we're going to be here a lot. We're going to be spending time in Kansas and really trying to do a great job representing the people of Kansas.
Education is a hot topic here in Kansas. And just summarize your thoughts on the current systems and what reforms, if any, you feel that we may need to make to ensure that Kansas children have the best opportunity for success.
Well, and, again, you rightfully point out that most educational issues are state issues, and the federal government interacts largely through what we do for special needs kids and what we do for kids in low-income communities. And they do that through what's called the Title I program. And so, I've talked a lot in this campaign about what I believe is the new American paradox, that it's harder than ever for the average American to get ahead, and yet paradoxically easier to do nothing with your life. And so what I've talked about is looking at some of those 120 or so benefit programs we have for able-bodied adults and asking a real simple question. Is it promoting upward mobility and accountability, or complacency and dependency? The ones that are promoting complacency and dependency, I think we need to look at and figure out how to reform those to encourage better pathways to work. With that said, the dollars we save there, I'd like to invest some of those in at-risk kids. I'd like to see summer learning programs in Title I schools, so low-income kids get the same sort of learning opportunities that higher-income kids get during the summer. And what we found in terms of looking at this problem is 2/3 of the accumulated learning deficit between low-income kids and high-income kids is caused by the summer learning deficit. And so, really, government doesn't guarantee anyone's future, but it can really do a lot to ensure access to opportunities for people. And so I think if we can invest a little bit more in at-risk kids, we can break the cycle of poverty in this country, break the cycle of dependency for people, and give everyone, all Kansas children, a real opportunity to succeed.
Excellent. I know we're getting close on our time here. The final question I have here for you is, why do you believe that working class Kansas should select you as their best choice to run for U.S. Senate?
Well, I grew up in a working class family. I was in a single parent family with 6 kids. My mother worked full time as a nurse, and I watched her every month struggle to pay her bills and make sure that she could keep our family afloat. I got the benefit of good public schools, dedicated teachers, and as a result of that, I was able to live my own version of the American dream. But I always remember my mother's struggle. I always remember what it was like to be financially insecure and to have to work hard to get things done. And so I'm a big believer that those people who have climbed the ladder of success shouldn't pull it up from behind. And so I'm going to be constantly looking out for the needs of Kansans who are willing to work hard, pay their dues. They should have a fair shot at the American dream.
Absolutely. Well, that's Greg Orman, candidate for U.S. Senate. Thank you so much for joining us here in the studio.
Pleasure.
We appreciate you were the first to accept our invitation, and with the other folks running for Senate, we've given them an invitation as well. They're welcome to come out on the show and speak, and we really do appreciate that you came here and spent some time with us.
Well, we're happy to be here.
All right, thank you.
Visit talkabouttopeka.com to hear full interviews of all our guests. Connect with us anytime on Facebook and Twitter. Listen live and hear more from Chris and Jamie from 7 to 8 a.m. every weekday on The Big Talker, KMAJ 1440. And keep talking about Topeka.